Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by Anne-Marie Butler, Head of Education in Teagasc, to discuss the wide range of courses Teagasc has to offer. Anne-Marie, you're very welcome. Congratulations, you've been appointed as Head of Education at the end of last year. How has it been going so far?
I suppose I consider it a real honour to lead the education team. I'm based in Kildalton. I live in Kilkenny myself, so Kildalton is the base. But I suppose I've been busy over the last couple of months getting out and about and trying to visit the colleges and the centres and the research centres and really just to get to know the team, Catherine. I suppose I've had quite the welcome and people have been very welcoming and I very much appreciate that.
Anne-Marie, can you give an overview of the education programme that Teagasc has?
Yes, so across Teagasc, we're very fortunate to have, I suppose, a very wide and comprehensive array of offers for students, be they full-time students, part-time students, distance education students, those who are returning to education, those maybe who have finished in secondary school. And I suppose first and foremost, there's something there for everybody. So to all of your listeners, I would encourage them to get to know a little bit more about Teagasc education and also maybe to let us know if there's areas of education that we're not servicing for their needs, that we'd certainly be interested in chatting to people. But right across the country, we have 7 agricultural colleges, which will predominantly work with the full-time students. We offer education right across the region in 17 different centres. So for most of your listeners, they should be very close to a regional centre and to a member of our team. And we also then link with Moorpark and Fermoy on their professional dairy farm management course. So as I said, there's courses there from full-time, part-time and distance education. While most of our full-time courses, Catherine, start now in the autumn, our colleges are getting ready for an intake of students in September. You'll find that on the part-time and the distance courses, they would have different start dates right across the year. So at certain times of the year, courses will be offered. So you'd find that by chatting to our staff and contacting us, by understanding what it is somebody wants to study and what the areas we certainly can offer. And as you know, we have the courses in agriculture, horticulture, forestry, and equine. So, depending on where you are in the country, those courses are offered. And certainly, we find that our students, as I said, range from the 17-year-old who's coming in to those who are much maturer than 17 and have an interest in coming back into education, Catherine.
Anne-Marie, Teagasc offer a wide variety of education courses across the country. For students that are interested in agriculture and now applying through the CAO, what options have they?
Yeah, so for as you mentioned there, it's a busy time and conscious students with exams and exploring their options. And that for those who are looking at a full-time course, all of our colleges now right across the full-time course spectrums are currently open for applications. So if students would like to go on to our website, which is www.teagasc.ie/education, they can go on there and make their application for whichever college they're looking at. As I said, we have 7 colleges offering agriculture, horticulture, forestry, and equine. So to go on there and get it. If at any point somebody feels they're not getting the information they need there, please do contact the colleges directly. There's a whole team of people there who'd only be too delighted to chat with you. Or if it's your Teagasc advisor, if you're a Teagasc client, we'd only be too delighted to chat and explain to people what options are there. If people are looking at part-time or distance, Catherine, that's a different application process. But certainly for the full-time, now is a good time. And I suppose I'd encourage people as well, if at any time they wanted to call into a college and see the facilities. I'm conscious with COVID, a lot of people didn't get to attend open days in the last couple of years. Any of the colleges would only be too delighted to chat to people and show them around and maybe explain the ins and outs of the courses and the excellent learning opportunities that will be available to them.
And the practical learning period with the host farmers real highlight for students. What do students get to experience on placement?
Yeah, so placement is, I suppose, a key component of our course. And over the last number of years, when we, survey students and chat to them about their course, our placement period continues to be the most popular module. Our Green Cert course is a 2-year course, level 5 and level 6, and in both level 5 and level 6, students will go on placement, where they, depending on whether they're, studying agriculture, horticulture, forestry, or equine, they will go on to farms, they will go on to hosts, and there they will learn with the host. As you're aware, Catherine, we're currently reviewing our placement where we're looking at I suppose the time that students spend on farms, the period that they go out, the time of year, and also the key learnings. And I suppose fundamentally, it's for students to experience firsthand what happens on a farm or what happens in an equine unit or a horticulture unit, and that they can put the skills that they've learned in the classroom to best use. We have found over the years that for the vast majority, placement is, I suppose, a life affirming area for people. They make lifelong friends. Manny's the person who tells me that they're going to a wedding of a student that was on their farm many years ago. So some great relationships. I completely recognise that there will be instances where maybe a placement does not work for a variety of reasons. And certainly that's a key focus of our review to make sure, Catherine, that from the host perspective and the student, everybody has a very positive experience and a nice learning opportunity, because that's fundamentally what it is. It's a learning time. I'd like to thank our hosts. We have a significant number of hosts who work with us in placing students every year. Without them, we couldn't do this. And as I said, it's the one time where people really enjoy getting out to see other farms and bringing their experience back to the college or back to their home farm.
Most definitely, Anne-Marie. And I suppose these courses, they really are the starting point for lifelong learning of these students in their agricultural career. What options are there for students if they want to progress further?
Yeah, so we're delighted that we have such strong links right across the country with different colleges from Waterford and Carlow, Cork, Dundalk, GMIT, UCC, UCD, quite a list. And for many students, once they finish their level sixes, which when they complete with us on the full time courses, many then might decide that they've been kind of somewhat bitten by the learning bug and they want to go on a little bit further. And there are options there for students, depending on what course they've done, to transfer into the colleges and continue their studies. And we find that there's a significant number and a growing number year on year who are exploring that option. For some also, they find that if they've done their leaving cert, or that they weren't sure what they wanted to do, they really enjoy the 2 year experience in any of our colleges. And I suppose it gives people a bit of confidence. It gives them that bit of maturity to step onto the further ladder. And all of our colleges and all of our staff are very well versed in helping people with those application forms and that process, and I suppose supporting them as they continue their education. So because our courses come in under the QQI umbrella, students can continue right on to PhD level, should they wish to pursue other courses. So certainly for people, there's plenty of options there, and plenty of support in helping you to progress to those levels should you wish.
Anne-Marie, what options are there for those that have done a trade or gone into further education and now want to do an agricultural course part-time or distance education?
Yeah, so as I said, for some, they may decide that after a couple of years of working, that they'll continue back to education and maybe to get the green cert for a variety of reasons. So as you said, we have two options there. There's a part-time and a distance education option. The part-time and the distance are certainly offered. Again, you could look onto our website, the education site of Teagasc, for the different parts of the country that people are in. And as I said, the part time is where the student will come into the regional office, maybe do their skills through the college 1 or 2 nights per week. And on the distance, it's predominantly online, but students would come into a centre or college on maybe one Saturday a month, or depending on the course, to take their skills. For anybody who's looking at that, again, you can apply direct to the colleges or onto our website, and the application form will be there. I suppose the nice thing about these courses is that they don't have to be a September start. So you'll find that depending on the region and depending on availability, different courses will start during the year. And we do find that some people might travel to a different college or centre that's not exactly right on their doorstep, because it suits their timetable. Learners in many of these, as you said, may not have been back to college in quite a number of years, and we certainly would welcome everybody. I know many people say to me it's more the thought of going back to a bit of learning, and once they're here, then they thoroughly enjoy it, because as you know yourself, Catherine, it's the practical nature of a lot of these that really people enjoy, and also getting to know people. It's been a challenge over the last couple of years for people with COVID, and we're delighted to be welcoming people back into classrooms and back onto the farms. And I suppose there's nothing like learning in your group and learning from those around you.
Amber, you mentioned earlier the connection that people make while in college, and many listeners would have a connection with the Kildalton Agricultural College. And I know you're very happy to be celebrating 50 years of education in Kildalton next week.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, Kildalton is 50 years young, and we're delighted. We're busy preparing. Certainly, to all your listeners and their friends and family, we'd extend a warm welcome to Kildalton on Saturday, the 25th of June. And hopefully, the weather is nice. But if not, Catherine, there's plenty to keep people entertained. The idea of the day is really to celebrate the last 50 years of learning and farming here in South Kilkenny. And on the day, visitors can visit the beautiful house. right through the rooms, right across the grounds and the gardens, and also just to, I suppose, see the different pictures and memorabilia from the last 50 years, also to visit the farm and see the different enterprises. And there'll be, current staff, retired staff, former students, current students. As I said, it's really a celebration of 50 years here in Kildalton and all that has been achieved. And I know from chatting to different visitors to the college over the last couple of weeks, there's lots of good stories. And I suppose it's interesting, Catherine, how life has changed in 50 years. Somebody was saying to me, like, when students were here 50 years ago, students did not go down to Pilltown Village, which is just really, if your listeners know, at the gate of the college. So it's amazing how in 50 years, things have moved, and how science has moved and farming has moved. And it's a great opportunity for people, as I said, to see all the enterprises, also to see the horticulture and equine and the gardens. And as I said, everybody is most welcome, and we congratulate everyone who's organising it and wish them the best of luck on the 25th.
Huge differences, Anne-Marie, for sure, in the last 50 years. And I suppose finally, for listeners that are interested in a career in farming and maybe the broad agricultural industry, what advice have you for them?
Yeah, look, I think, Catherine, it's an exciting time to be involved in agriculture or horticulture or equine or any area of the sector. We continue to need food, and we continue to be able to, feed a lot of people on the planet. And I think with any of these courses, from your level 5 and level 6 and right up along, I think if you have your qualification in agriculture, it's really a stepping stone into so many other things. For such a large sector, it's a small sector in terms of the networking and the opportunities that are there. And as you know yourself, any event you go to, people will always know somebody else from the sector, and I suppose the linkages that gives to people. So I suppose my key advice to anybody is make sure and study what you're interested in. If you're interested in farming or horticulture or equine, don't be put off that you shouldn't study that area, because half the battle is enjoying what you study. Chat to lots of people, explore your options, and I suppose not to be afraid to challenge yourself as well. It's always good to have a little bit of change, but I think that I'm a big believer, Catherine, in the gut feeling, so I don't think your gut will ever put you wrong. And just to wish everybody the very best of luck with their studies. As head of education, I'm obviously very biased. I'm all for learning, but I think it's lifelong learning. We'll all continue learning, which is a great honour for all.
For sure, Anne-Marie. And I know you and your colleagues have a huge involvement in the Education and Advisory Village at the Beef 2022 Open Day on the 5th of July.
Yes, so we're really looking forward to that, Catherine. It's great, as I mentioned, with COVID, it's great to be back out and about, and I suppose meeting clients and prospective students, and even to meet staff, lots of people that haven't seen each other in 2 years. So we're really looking forward to the 5th of July in Grange. Our team are busy working on our stand, and I suppose exploring a lot of what our conversation was today, all of the options that are there, getting to know some of the people and putting faces and names together. And I suppose just to outline for people what the different options are and how we can support them in their education. And as I said, we'll be there to discuss all elements, from those who are interested in studying beef to any of the other areas, if it's horticulture and forestry, equine. So any queries, please, we'd only be delighted to meet people, and delighted for them to drop in and say hello to us.
That's great, Anne-Marie. Thanks very much, and we look forward to meeting you in Kildalton College on the 25th of June, celebrating the 50 years of education, and in Teagasc Grange on the 5th of July.
Absolutely. Garb Mila Mahago, Catherine. Thanks a mil.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Anne-Marie for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.